When you and Ben started Authentic Carpentry, what problem were you trying to solve?
We can provide a better experience. We understand the process. We understand what it takes to go from idea to completion. So,
And be that, hey, let's make sure that we plan this one out. We serve you what you really want.
a good contractor should understand that journey. Most homeowners that come to us may have done one or two renovations in their lifetime.
Yes. Hey guys, welcome to our new episode, and I'm so excited to have our guest for today because it's going to be a good conversation. So today's guest is Jake, co-founder of Authentic Carpentry, a people-first renovation company built on craftsmanship, clarity, and intention. What began as a hands-on carpentry evolved into a fully integrated renovation experience rooted with strong design systems, and thoughtful operation. So Jake's journey sits at the intersection of craft and structure, and it's a powerful example of closing the gap between passion and scalable growth. Hey, Jake, welcome.
Good morning.
It's so nice to have you.
Well, thank you for having me on.
Yes, it's so nice because we met on an event and you spoke, and there was a section that said hey, anyone who wants to come up stage and kind of ask what they're looking for. And you said hey, I would love to talk to fellow business owners who are scaling, and kind of just ring my, my ears and hold on, let me just, get to know who this guy is. And then we had a conversation and sit down. So welcome. I'm so happy that you're here.
For sure. Yeah, I'm super glad that we connected at that event. I think in some ways the event was sort of a strange one for a designer, a construction company to be at, and that it's geared for the software space. But what I've learned from there is, the journey from being a carpenter to a project manager to becoming a brand presence in Louisville involves scaling, and it involves systems, which is the same systems that you need to scale a software company or a medical supply company. And so being in that room with those entrepreneurs and those founders has just really sort of opened new horizons, and thinking about how to better serve my clients in the construction, the renovation space, taking some of the same tenets, principles, philosophies, applying those to our construction company, I think is benefiting our clients' experience.
That is so true. The fundamental, or basically what happens in scaling, is still, whether you're a carpentry business or you're a software business or anything, it still applies. So let's go back a little bit because, we kind of talk a little bit, and I've looked into your website and all the about, and I've followed you on Instagram.
Okay.
I think one thing that okay, there's Jake, everything. Now, when you're a co-founder, you have, when you and Ben started Authentic Carpentry, what problem were you trying to solve besides beyond the installing cabinets? Because that has been your core thing, right?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about how it all started.
Absolutely, yeah. So for me, it's very singular in that I was a cabinet installer. I'd gotten good at installing cabinets as far as felt like I couldn't install them any faster or better, but I enjoy the craft side of it. But in that role as a cabinet designer, normally cabinets land on the job site pretty late in the job. So the house has already been under demo. It's already had the rough electrical, plumbing. So a lot of things have happened before cabinets show up on the site. And so over and over, we would experience very emotionally distraught clients where we would come in, we're towards the end of the job, we're just showing up with the cabinets, we're going to put them in. And for me, it was always dissatisfying to install cabinets where the client was saying things like, this isn't turning out like I thought it would. I don't like how it feels. I thought it would look different. I thought it would feel different. And so, by then they're in really deep. And so we started as hey, let's be the best cabinet installation company in Louisville. But as we kind of experienced that more and more, we just felt like we can do better than this. We can provide a better experience. We understand the process. We understand what it takes to go from idea to completion. So as we were being cabinet installers and we grew into a cabinet kind of design and selling company, I opened a showroom. I started doing cabinet design, started doing drafting. So it kind of flowed naturally from there that when we moved into our own projects, became pretty much a full kind of encompassed, we call it full service renovation, but people are probably more familiar with the concept of design build, where our goal is the clients come to us. They come to us because they have a dream. They come to us because they want to feel something different. So they have a frustration. They can feel the frustration, and they want to feel something different. And so we just try to take everything we've learned. I have a small bit of a background in architectural education, but then all the design things we've learned over the years, and how can we essentially the client shakes our hand and it's easy from there on out. We know the process. We know how to kind of mine the depths of their ideas and kind of filter them for them and set them on the right path, give them vision with, digital rendering and that kind of thing, so they get a lot of buy-in. So what we just try to do is just how do we continually evolve that process. So from the client's perspective, it's easier and easier, and the outcome perspective, it just gets better and better. So.
I love that one. And you've noticed a pain point of your clients that you're all coming in on a later part, of the project. So you kind of turn that around and be that, hey, let's make sure that we plan this one out. We serve you what you really want and really like going through the process. And I think just based on you, it's really just listening to the journey that your clients
absolutely
is
yes.
having.
Yes. Yeah. The journey is everything. And I'll get on other contractors and because we know better, like as contractors, if we do this on a day in and day out basis, we might do, 20 to 100 renovations in a year. That's a lot of reps. And so we, a good contractor should understand that journey. Most homeowners that come to us may have done 1 or 2 renovations in their lifetime.
Yes.
And then I think the other side of that is, I think a good designer, a good contractor, good business owner, they should be listening really well. And a lot of times contractors can sort of have like, this is the way we've always done it. And for me, I'm not interested in how we've done it. I'm interested in what's the best outcome for this family. And that looks different for every single family. Every family's in a different season of life. They have different needs. They do different things in their space, and they want to feel different things. And so what I love about my job is listening to people and being like, and then taking that person and matching them with ideas and current designs, and how can we just really maximize that space, maximize your experience of the space, and then take that and customize it to who you are, where you're at, what your capacities and abilities and budget and all that kind of thing is. And that's really where it gets fun, is seeing that all come together and seeing just the joy that the client gets when they realize like, oh, I see the path now. Like now I see the journey from couldn't even express what it was I wanted out of the space, but now I can see it, and then getting to deliver that through. That's really fun.
Now, one of the things that I've also noticed, and especially in the industry of, construction builders as well, some of the people who actually do and own the business are also the one who fulfills it. And sometimes you get buried into the fulfillment part, and we're in the operations or the management can get also too overwhelming,
Absolutely,
right?
yeah.
How did you manage that one? Did you delegate early on, or because you have all of these other backgrounds and you have your brother with you,
Yeah.
you're able to kind of partner that one, I bet. Tell
Yeah.
me a little bit about that starting phase in making sure that me as a business owner, as someone who is like a consultant, right?
Right.
Making sure that I advise the client correctly, that I
Yes.
can do that, but also at the same time fulfill what I've promised in the front end. How did
Yes.
you manage that one?
Yeah, I think in fits and starts, it was by nature, I really enjoy the craftsmanship side of it, and I enjoyed kind of honing my craft and cutting crown and figuring out hard angles and stuff like that. But as I moved into more and more project management, I realized that the most valuable thing I could do for my client was spend more time with them and understanding what their needs were, so that then I could sort of like make the right map, if that makes sense. So,
Yes.
Ultimately, it doesn't matter, how well the joints all come together and stuff if the map is wrong. If we get to the wrong place, then everything else falls apart. And that takes a lot of due diligence. It takes a lot of time on the front end to design that well. And then what I realized was, in order for me to invest all that time and energy and really understanding my client and really making sure that the designs, the construction documentations, logistics, were all going to get them where they wanted to go the right way, I needed to rely more on individual experts to execute what they could do really well. And so I wasn't benefiting my client by trying to keep the tools on as much as I could by being the one who was helping them craft the entire vision, and then making sure that everybody that had any part in it was staying true to that vision and making sure that the finished completion matched their expectations. So
I really love that one, because I think I always say this concept, right? That if the system is in your head, or the process in your head, like you're the system, and if you break or you do go on a vacation, the whole
Absolutely.
business goes with you. And
Yes.
you've really targeted in one thing, right? Documentation. Now, as you hire experts or team, how valuable is it for you to make sure that the process and your standard is really documented and followed?
Oh, super important. Yeah. Because most people, they're only going to deliver what they know. And so it's my job in the construction documentation, the design phases, to make sure that that gets communicated well. I'm partners with my brother, Ben. He's the day on site
Yes.
daily on-site manager. And so it's his job to make sure that the plans get followed. But ultimately, like when that happens, clear communication, clear systems, clear procedures, clear expectations, then you can guarantee results. But if you don't do that, there's no guarantee that the results at the end of the project are going to match expectations, and that's really painful. That's that's what we don't want our clients to experience anyway. Is any lesser we would rather exceed their expectations than miss them. So we would just work really hard. And so to me, systems and processes are everything. Like I can't control outcomes if I don't have systems, if I don't have procedures, if I don't have clearly communicated expectations, then I can't deliver expectations. So.
Yeah, that's that's why I think that's one thing that really kind of just resonate with you and how you value such process. Does it really it makes your life, I can see it makes your life like, yes, everything is running. I know I can rely on that one, right? Because sometimes some people are just really, like what I've said, they're really just on the day-to-day grind and they're kind of missing that one. Was there any instances that, some of the systems that you've built kind of broke down and you have to like, okay, what's happening? What are your thought process when going through if something is not working?
Yeah, so many failures, so many fits and starts, like I said. So I think probably the least personal and easiest one to quantify in data sets would be our different attempts at different softwares. So I'm a big believer in leveraging technology for the benefit of my clients. Of like, if the technology exists that can make my clients' life easier and communication more clear, easier to access, then I want to invest in it. But that can also, in that is the danger of every time you shift softwares, you're shifting your communication style, you're shifting the flow of the communication. And so you always have to be really diligent to make sure stuff's not falling through the cracks when you switch that. And then ultimately it's just a lot of work to switch between communication. So I think probably what our processes have always been is I think for me, the chief goal, like the main thing that I want is clients that experience as little friction as possible. And so anytime that we get through a job and there was friction, I'm going to go back and be like, why was there friction? Like how could we have made this easier? How could the job have sold easier? How could the client, if something happened and the client was surprised and they were like, oh, I didn't know this was going to happen. Well, what can we do about that? If we put all this work in a portal, say, and the client never accesses it, well, then I think we need to analyze, like, why didn't they access it? Why did we put all the work into the portal if they're not going to use it? If they're not going to use it, where are they getting their questions answered? And how can we get the answers there in a way that's easy for them to find? So I think, one thing that as a founder and a business owner, we have to guard against is kind of the attraction to the new shiny thing.
Yes.
And I think lots of times we can be super excited about like this new platform and we invest so much in it that we see the potential. But if our clients aren't interacting with it in the way that we expect them to or thought they would, then I think that's when we stop and kind of go back. So we've probably been through, 5 different platforms. Even the one we're on right now, we're still learning to try to integrate it with fewer clicks. Like how can we get the same amount of information with fewer words and fewer clicks so that our clients never feel overwhelmed and they're always just taking the next step and everything is just laid out as easily for them. So for me, I think like, my canary in the coal mine, as they would say, is the client. It's like, if they're frustrated, why are they frustrated? Let's change the system. If they get to any part of the job and they're like, oh shoot, I didn't know I had to leave the house for a week. Why didn't we communicate that? Where could we have put that information? And if we say, well, we did communicate it, well, where did we communicate it and why did it get lost in the shuffle? And how can we do a better job making sure it's always present? And so, it's just constantly an evolution of like, okay, we need to start doing, whatever the next thing is to make that for the next client so they don't have that same experience.
They're really diagnosing it and really asking the right question and why isn't working or why is this even working, right? Can we double down on something that is working for our client to really resist that friction? Because nowadays, I really believe as well, right? Like people want it either fast or seamless or lesser click.
Right.
Even me, myself, like if you don't reply to me, like, nope, I'm moving to the next one, right?
Yeah.
Now, when you do implementation, you've diagnosed it as what I call it, and then you've implemented it. How do you align people? Because there are 3, for me in my concept, right? When it comes to alignment now, making sure, I always say it needs to be aligned with people, process, and platform. How do you make sure, especially with people? Because sometimes, again, going back to the thing that business owners are doing is that they either wear multiple hats or they may not have a brother that can implement, right? Or
Right,
other
right.
people that can really help them out. How do you make sure that the people who will be using the tools or even your process or your client journey process that you have documented understands?
Yes, yeah, yeah, and for sure. I think in any industry, but definitely in renovation, constructions, communication is going to be the hardest. I mean, it's. I think it's so easy. I think when you're a founder and you have that like mindset of constantly visioning, and we could go here, we could do this. It's really easy, like in your own head, and just assume people are catching the vision. And I think once you start trying to like put the vision in front of people, that's when you find out if it's any good or not, and you start to find out really quick what the tweaks are. So for me, I think I'm a smaller company, so in Authentic Carpentry, it's just me and my brother Ben and a bookkeeper. So if I want any systems, I got to build it. So for me, it's I try to build it and use it before I launch it in any way. So I want to whatever my idea is. Well, if we use this software in this way, how can I trial run that in a way that's behind the scenes, so that I can work some kinks out. Always, when we have put people in chairs where they could automate something, I always be like, well, we don't automate anything until we run it. Because if it's a bad automation, it's just going to continue to create bad things.
Yeah, that is so true. And that's one thing that I always tell business owners who just like either started or they just, again, this shiny object, like, oh, I've heard about this. I want to use AI or I want to systematize this. Like, have you done this yourself?
Right.
Have you gone through the process? Because you can't just rely on automation and you don't know anything. You don't have the data. And then now it's going to be frustration to the tool.
Right.
And then it's just so hard as well, right? So that's one thing. And really communicating to those people who will implement it. Now, when you create something like in your business as a whole, like, do you always do like, hey, this is my current vision right now in the next year or so, and then a long-term vision as well, that your small actions is also tied up with a long-term visions? Do you do that one? You kind of like, okay, if I'm doing this, I want to make sure that this resonates with my 10-year vision or something like that.
Yeah. I'm probably really bad on the business sense of like articulating a 10-year vision.
Okay.
I think the way that my brain, my perspective is usually like in that 5-year window. I think once again, being a smaller company, I don't vision cast for a lot of people. So it's a little bit more, and my brother's much more kind of in the day-to-day kind of executing on the technician level. So I think for me, it's more what's the biggest impact thing I can do today for the rest of the week, for the rest of the year, for the rest of the 5 years, and just trying to be ruthless in prioritization of I'm going to invest my time today in the most value producing actions, and I'm going to delegate everything else. And so as much as possible, trying to continually assess end of every week, end of every month, end of every quarter, like where are we at? Where were we hoping to be? Where are we hoping to go? And then what are the steps that we could have taken or should be taking? And then we got to prioritize those steps over all the other steps that we could be doing. And as a business owner, there's always 1 million steps,
That is so true. And how you value data is really something that had really helped you in your years in business. How long have you been in business?
So I've been self-employed pretty much my entire life. We launched Authentic Carpentry in 2018.
Okay.
But before that, I was just kind of doing business as Jake Fabish.
Yes.
So I was a self-employed cabinet installer, and before that, I was self-employed and working 1099 for different contractors and stuff like that. So.
Okay. The journey, really, right? I bet a lot of our listeners and even viewers will really resonate, especially in the trades. In the trades right now, a lot of, here in our state, Kentucky, the BIA is really active. The BIA Institute is really active and really promoting that, because really it's a really good way of path of creating that journey of, being self-employed, creating that dream of creating that business as well, right? Is there any other thing that you have kind of learned or things that you might have thought, you know what, I should have not done that one in my process of now, you have a small company. I know you've said like 3 of you and all, but what are some of the core lessons that you've learned while building everything?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think probably the biggest one is proof of concept. I think at one point we hired up to 11 in-house guys and ended up needing to go back to a model of we sub everything out. And part of that learning process was without sales, it all dies. So you have to be able to have the sales volume to grow.
Yes.
And so, for years, my focus was on, the quality of the craftsmanship, the apprenticeship of the guys, training guys. But in a lot of ways, looking back, took my eye off the ball of, without sales, without a brand presence, without that, without the pipeline set up, everything else falls apart. So just realizing that like whatever you build, start with proof of concept, start with the fact that people want what you're selling, and then build everything around that. But until you kind of find that offer, until you find that thing that people resonate with, keep working, keep working on that offer, keep working on the resonation until you start to find, okay, we're putting this out, people resonate, and now we have something we can build around. And I think in my early days, I never thought like that. It was always just like, I'll just do good work. I'll just show up, I'll be reliable, and it'll take care of itself. And I think as I've matured in business, it's like, oh no, you actually have to build a brand. You have to like prove concept. You have to find your niche. You have to find your clients and that kind of thing.
I love how you really mentioned that one because, as a business owner, we tend to really just think, oh, this is a good idea. But then when you launch it, like it's crickets and now you've invested $1,000.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
But then again, the other side of it is that you just need to test it out.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And if you fail, you pick yourself up and then do pivot again.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
That I think that's one thing that is really important as well, right? And you've mentioned about branding. So one of the key things and platform that you have been doing is to really elevate, social media presence. I see you. I learn on certain things that I've never known, like, okay, that's how it works,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I know you're also going to be launching some of your podcasts as well to invite industry experts to have that conversation. I think as a user, as a potential customer, it's just so nice to learn from experts. Now I know.
Right.
I don't know anything. I might not doing the cabinets at my house, but I know who to run to. So was that the main goal, to position yourself as that, a company that people can run in Louisville and really hire? And tell us a little bit about that thought process of how important branding is. I know you've mentioned about that a while ago, but tell me a little bit about more of that.
Yeah, yeah. So I think for me, like we like with everything in business, it's like a journey, And so I think what we realized over the years is in what we do, the bigger the project gets, the more value we can bring to the client, because what we are really good at is collaboration, communication, execution. And the bigger the project gets, the more important all that gets. And so part of that is recognizing, okay, so we have a client, we have somebody who will really benefit from using us. And there's other people that are, not going to benefit as much from all the systems and stuff we've set up. Maybe they're a little bit more DIY or, they just don't need us. So I think the first step is like growing to the place of like, okay, there are certain people that we can bring huge value to. We can really like impact their lifestyle and then there's other people we just aren't going to serve as well. So I think for me, that was like an aha moment. And then I think the next kind of aha moment is they don't know me. Like the fact that I've now identified who I can help the most is no guarantee that I will work with them if they don't know who I am. And so for me, that has been kind of a shift into trying to leverage Instagram particularly as a single platform where I put most of my energy of like, how can I find the people that I don't know yet that could benefit from, what we've set up and that we would really enjoy to work with. And so that's kind of where the branding comes in is, how can I position myself in front of the right people, saying the things that would indicate to them that I can solve the pain problem that I'm best equipped to solve for them. And that's not everything, so I think it's trying to just get clearer and clearer on that. So it's been a journey. I hate being on camera. I don't
Look good. I mean, I give you credit with that one. So that's good. You're in the right path with that one as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it takes a lot for a business owner to show up because that's a minute of your time and then you got to like, does this make sense? Does a message make sense? Or, just thinking about all of these thoughts, right? And one important thing that you've really mentioned is that not everyone really knows you, in a way that you are there. You've really decided who you can help and you need to reach that people whom you can help. So you chose a platform to do that. And that is time, that's dedication, that's awareness for me is what I've always said, right? So, I mean, in Louisville, it's a good, area. I drive up here. I really just enjoy the connection and everything. And, what are like the next step for the company?
I think just that really brand is we just I feel like, and a little humble brag, but I feel like we've created an amazing product. Like, I
Yes.
feel like the experience, my favorite part of the job, and I tell people this, and hopefully they believe me, but our favorite part is like, we want, everybody comes to us and they're a friend. They're not going to work with us if we're not friends.
Yeah.
The rare thing in the contracting space is, are we friends at the end?
Yes.
And so my favorite part of what I do is, we had a job that wrapped up in June that was in a tour of remodeled homes. Great couple. We loved working with them, but they months later sent us pictures of their family doing Christmas, and it's like that to me was so special because like that's what we wanted. Like we wanted them to experience Christmas in the space, and we wanted them to have their expectations like surpassed. And clearly they were excited about it. They're like, "Look, we're in the space. This is what it looks like." So we were super excited to see it. But I think so for me, like. If I can't express that to people, if people can't find that out about who we are and what we offer, then I won't be able to fulfill that for people. So it's just kind of, that's the vision, is like, how do I position myself better and explain myself better so that the people who are in a position who are experiencing frustration, they have a really large project, or they're in a home, they don't want to move, they don't want to buy something new, but they want to live there and they want to love it. I feel like we have over the years kind of created a product or a system, however you want to phrase it, that can deliver that for them. And so it's just a matter of like, okay, we've kind of built the thing, we built the dongle. Now we have to get it in front of the right people. And so, I heard somebody say it's not always the best person gets the work, it's the best known person. And so it's like, I think that's my kind of, as the founder and as the kind of the
face of the
face
company.
of the company is how do I,
Yes.
just get in front of the right people. And ultimately, like, the thing that brings us the most joy is just seeing people come alive when they're like, I never occurred to me the space could be like this. And we're like, that's amazing. Like, that's awesome. And getting to do those really fun projects and just see them then move into that new space. And it's, their lifestyle changes. They experience life differently because, and we get the privilege of like, getting to kind of take a ride on that journey with them and getting to like take their life from, an unused or a frustrating space and turn it into a place where they really do cool things, whether it's hosting or family holidays or whatever it is. And that to me is like, that's awesome. I want to keep doing that again.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, that's a wonderful thing to receive, right? Pictures and family gathering. Because a home is a place where you really would love to invite everyone and to be comfortable with, and the impact that you create as well. So with all the service, tell us a little bit of all the things that you offer in the company.
So we call ourselves like full service renovation because we haven't thought of a better phrase yet. I think that what we're trying to express by that is essentially like, we just want to sit down and have a coffee with you. And then you go back to your life. You're busy. You've got demands. You don't know about renovation. You don't know about permits and, connecting to the sewer lines or whatever the complication things are. And so you shouldn't have to. That should be our job. And so we kind of see ourselves as a consultant or a concierge or a collaboration where we just want to sit down with you and hear all about you, what you want, what you need, and then, hopefully build the trust there that we get to work and working with whatever the team that we need to assemble is, whether that's like interior designers, structural engineers, electricians, plumbers, all those people. We go to work. And we get all that pulled together and we come back to you and like, hey, here's the plan. We get your feedback. We perfect the plan. And then you go back to your life again and we just execute. And you just, you go to Florida if you want. You can do whatever you want. But the goal is it's so simple and so easy for you to get what you want and to give you, kind of deliver the lifestyle that is made you identify the pain point. If you're doing renovations because there's something there that's not right. You want it different. And so we just want to be able to deliver that in the most seamless way possible. So that's kind of what we're trying to encapsulate with that full service renovation is like, hey, you don't have to know like where to go get this stuff. You don't have to know what the current products on the market are. You don't have to know what the best application for your needs and your price point is. Like, that's our job. We got you. And we're going to align you with all the experts that can help you make all the right decisions. And we always tell people like, let's think about this holistically. I think another trap in renovations can be, I want to redo my living room or I want to redo my kitchen. But the house is a holistic whole, and we experience life in all the rooms of a house. And so anytime you go to do a renovation, let's think through the house holistically. And maybe even though we're not going to do the whole house right now, if we understand where we're going, we'll do a better job on this phase getting ready for the next one. And another kind of mantra that we have with all of our clients is let's always go for the 10. And then if we need to make adjustments, like, maybe we're not ready to spend on a 10, or maybe we're going to phase out the 10, but let's go, like, let's just stay in the dream world. Let's just stay in, like, what's ideal for you, your family, your needs, your lifestyle, the season of your life. Let's stay focused on that, and then develop a plan that would deliver that. Once we have that map, then we can make stops on the map and be like, hey, we'll just go to here this time, and next time we'll go there, whatever it is. But I think those are the things that really protect our clients from disappointment, because they don't get to the end of the kitchen renovation and then 5 years later be like, all right, now we want to do so for an example, we currently just finished out like a huge basement renovation. They didn't want to do the outdoor living space, but they knew at some point they wanted to. So we went ahead in that phase and ran all the electrical and gas lines through the ceiling of the basement we were finishing. That way, whenever they get to the outdoor space,
It's ready for
ready
that
for
project.
them, and they're not going to pay to tear up that basement we just finished. And that's the kind of like thinking that we want to go with our clients, is to protect their asset, to protect their lifestyle, and we don't want to go back in that basement and tear it up in 2 years so we can.
I love that one. I mean, now I want to have my house and have it all renovated by you, because that's the same. That's the same way that I do things, is that let's really look at it as a whole. And if you're listening right now and watching this one, whether you're running a business or renovating your home, that should be how you see things.
Absolutely.
Like, preparing for what is next, and then do it into phases. You don't have to like go 100%, but now okay, later on the kitchen will be having this, or you're going to be an empty nester. You want the other room to be your man cave or your lady cave, whatever you call that one, right? And really go through that one. Now, are there a little bit more when you do it that way? Are people more like, yeah, that makes sense, or there's like, no, just stick with this one? What are the feedback that you get when you do that one as well?
Yeah, I think it can take an education. Like it can be a little bit of an education. For some clients are like, gung ho. They already wanted to do the whole thing anyway. And other clients are like, well, we're just talking about the kitchen. And so it can take some time to warm them up to like, and it's surprising to me, and I'm sure you run into it in your consulting business, like, how fixated we can get on a certain thing to our own detriment. We can be so fixated on whatever we think the current pain point is. And I think it's sort of like a doctor who would, going to the chiropractor. It's like, well, my neck hurts, and they're looking at your lower back, and you're like, well, my neck hurts. And I think for our clients, sometimes it can be like, well, I hear what you're saying, but like, let's slow down a little bit. And that can be, in our space, it can be not uncommon for contractors to offer estimates or bids without any design in place. And for us, we're always like, well, I appreciate that seems easier, but there's a lot of questions that haven't been answered. And we don't want to give you a solution that ultimately isn't the best solution. And so, would you like be patient with us and spend a little bit more time on the front end, and let's just think through some stuff. And sometimes it takes asking several times, but getting to the core of like, understanding like who you are and how you use the space. And I always tell people like Pinterest is fantastic for beauty and some ideas, but ultimately whatever you see on Pinterest wasn't made for you. And so we can make it better. We can customize it to you, and we're not stuck with it. So I think people are kind of used to copy paste. Like, I saw it on Pinterest, so I'm going to switch it over here. And I'm sure you run to it in the consulting side too, of like, well, this business does it this way. And it's like, well, that's great. And it's a great place to start. It identifies a pain, but it's not always the best place to find a solution. A better place to find a solution is let's hear about you. Let's hear what your goals are. Where are you trying to go? Where are you trying to head? And then let's build you a map to get there. And then once we have the map, then we can break it in phases. We can do it however we want. And all of that just takes like due diligence. It just takes taking the time to have the conversation. And I think it also just takes the empathy and care for the person you're helping to be like, I want what's best for you. I want this outcome to exceed your expectations. And so, will you work with me on that? And so it goes in different ways. I'm sure have you experienced the same thing in the consulting side?
Yes. There's just kind of like either, no, I just want it this way because this is the reason why I came to you. I said, okay. But at the end of the day, it's just like my responsibility to kind of lay out as well the possibility or what needs to be done. But at the end of the day, it's your decision. And whatever you want, we can help you, or we can also say no, because if it doesn't really serve, right, we know that it won't work, then we can really just say, nope, it won't work and all, and move forward as well. I really love the process that you have. I mean, just knowing you with a few times that we've just talked, and sometimes I just randomly text you, hey, Jake, what's up?
Yeah.
You know, like, what are you doing? Can we meet? Just consultative, having that brainstorming, right? As business owner to business owner, which I really appreciate as well, your time, is that just knowing the story and the process and the value that you have on being that expert and being that person that homeowners can really run into, because home renovation is a stressful thing.
Yes.
It's a stressful thing. Sometimes you have a certain budget and budget can go up. And I think that's one thing that you have really, shown in how I feel. And I hope our listeners and also our viewers can, resonate with that one. And I know you will. And you can always check out all of the things. We're going to give all of the links as well that you have. Is there anything else that you would love to share to our listeners, how they can reach out to you if they're within the area or the areas that you actually serve? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. Yeah. So we stick primarily in Louisville and the surrounding areas. We don't travel real far, primarily because we want to be on site a lot. We want to be involved in all the different things, and that gets a lot harder when we get spread out. So we mostly serve the Louisville area. We have AuthenticCarpentry.rocks is our website. We're on Instagram. We try to post there pretty frequently. I go up and down sometimes on that. So don't don't expect great things, but no, we'd love to connect. And like I said, to me, it's like understanding I just love understanding how things work. So when I was a kid, my dad would throw out VCR players and I would go take them apart and see how it worked, And so I think that's what I love about meeting new people is they have a problem and you get together, drink a cup of coffee and just talk about the problem and then come up with the best solution for it. So, yeah, I'd love to connect with anybody has to me, like you said, a renovation is such a big deal, and hopefully you only do it once.
Yes.
And you want to get it right. So
get it right. Make sure it's right.
You don't want to do it over.
Yes.
So we take it as a huge honor that anybody in that like fork in the road would choose to go with us, and we want to protect that interest and honor the fact that they've given us the privilege to walk with them through that, and hopefully protect the outcome and exceed their expectations, and then get to see the lifestyle that comes after that, and that's the fun part.
Amazing. I bet for those who are listening and watching, it's going to be an exciting, especially within this area, to really connect with you and learn what are the possibilities that they can do in their house and have someone of an expert like you and your brother and your team to really make that happen. Because a home, a house and a home, that's one thing that you really would love to have. Well, Jake, thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah.